This is Dr. David Allen. I'm talking with Dr. Eric Fox. Congratulations, Eric.
Thank you.
Known him for many years. He's really a community worker. And I want to say again, fellow Bahamians, it's people like Eric who are working, but when you don't see them, behind the scenes. This program like Teen Challenge helps many a young man in getting through life. His anger management program is wonderful. He works with Urban Renewal, and he's brought up 3 sons, which kudos to you, Eric, or Dr. Fox, I should say. And I've lived long enough to see a gentleman who was so-called known as a bad guy, a bad boy, a dangerous guy, be one of my best friends. Feel very safe with him, and to be with Goshon, one of the best young men I know. So what you're saying, Eric, if it could happen to you, it could happen to anybody. Eric, you got a young male problem. Another guy who's not under a man is on some kind of drug or unemployed, and the women are just going like this, but the men are dropping out. What's the answer, man?
Doc, I always say, if you buck your toe, right, and your toe is giving you a lot of problems, your whole body and everything you have is going to be zeroed in to try and see how you can fix your toe, right? We always talk about the male problems, right, we have, but no one is willing to put the resources into the male. I'm not knocking the situation with, yes, men abuse women. I'm a co-facilitator with Dr. Harvey Ferrer at the Catholic Church, where we talk to men who are abusive towards their spouse or their girlfriend.
What causes that? Because that's one thing we look at the police statistics. Our sexual abuse is still high, and rapes is still something we need to address. What makes men want to take advantage of women like that?
They feel, a lot of men are powerless. They feel powerless. Now, let me say this too, you know. Most abusive relationship, the men are being abused also too, you know. It's a song and dance. It's a song and dance.
Wait now, say that again. In most abusive relationship, where a woman is being abused, the man has been abused as well?
The men, they're abusing, both of them abusing one another, dog. It's a song and dance.
How do women abuse the men? They can't beat a man.
You see, that's the problem we have there too, dog. We only see physical abuse as abuse.
So how do women abuse men?
Psychological. Psychological abuse. You know, psychological woman decide was she going out, then you know, she ain't answering to him, you know, man, I come in when I want to come in, I ain't cooking you no food, they on the phone talking to other man in front of you, and all this psychological abuse talk. They letting you know they doing things, blatant the you know, that they psychologically abuse, and then verbally.
So you're saying in our country we don't.
I want to talk about verbally,
we don't pay attention to the psychological abuse.
Dog, all to me are same. Verbal, physical, psychological, sexual abuse, all has the same results, you know. We make it see when a guy, after all of this psychological abuse and this verbal abuse, he finally got enough and explode and punch you in the eye, right? We see that result. But we don't see the pain and the punch and the damage in him emotionally. We don't see that. Yes, it's wrong. You shouldn't punch, you shouldn't have to hit her. I believe if you have to hit someone, you don't need to be with them. If I got to hit a woman, I don't need to be with her. If I'm at the point where I got to punch her and hit her, I need to leave her alone. But some men, because of all these different emotions they got going on inside them, they feel neglected, they feel disrespected. You notice in the Bible, God never say that the woman to love the man. It say, husband, love your wives. He say, wives, respect your husband.
But what's your point?
My point is, there's a lot of disrespect. Yes, it's wrong to abuse women. It's wrong to abuse anybody. But a lot of the men are being abused psychologically, emotionally, and verbally. They're being put down. And then they throw a blow, and all of a sudden there's a big bad wolf. Right? And then these women go wherever they go, and then they are big victims. But the problem I have is that they does not deal with their own abuse talk. They don't deal, they go and say they are victims, but they don't talk about the abuse they are putting on these men. And unless, watch this talk, unless they deal with their own abuse, they might leave their man, but I must assure you, 9 out of 10, they'll end up in another abusive relationship. You know why? Because they have not dealt with their own abuse. And once you've been abused, once you've been abused, your tolerance level is much lower for abuse talk. If a woman have a man who's a stamper, right? stomp her on the ground. And she got involved with another man who slapped her. You know what she could say? Well, one is to stomp me, so this one slapping me, it ain't as bad.
Yeah, but she shouldn't be hitting women at all.
Hold, but I'm just telling you, dog. It's wrong. It's wrong for anybody to be. I saw a sign the other day. It's probably right over here. Gender equality. Stop violence towards women. But if you say gender equality, you both say stop violence, period. I read it wrong, dog. You use the doctor. I mean, I got a little doctor too, but gender mean male and female, right? Mm-hmm. So how you can say gender equality, stop violence against women? You supposed to be gender equality, stop violence, period.
Well, the other factor which is so important is a lot of the studies shows that when a child is sexually abused, they end up doing violent crime later in life. So part of the issue is when adults are abused, children get abused.
Of course.
Now, what do we do about that?
This, like I said, this stuff is learned, doc. We need to retrain our kids on how to have proper disagreements and how we communicate proper, even in relationships, even with one another. Doc, a lot of stuff is being spiritualized in this country, you know. We spiritualize everything.
We what? Spiritualize?
Spiritualize everything.
You mean go to church?
There's nothing wrong with going to church. I go to church every Sunday, it's wonderful. I have a pastor, it's wonderful. Awesome, I'm a pastor too. But what I'm saying is that we need to figure out what God say he can do and what he's not going to do. We have people with anger problems, going to church and getting prayed for. Prayer doesn't deal with anger issues. You need therapy. You need to work through them with issues. Those things are learned, dog. So those things need to be relearned. You ain't gonna come down and like lay hand on you and throw some oil on you, and you can get rid of all these things you've been practicing all your life. And you know what is the foundation of all this abuse too, dog? Secrecy. There's a lot of women who are being abused by men in this country, and they keep it silent. They suffer through it. And they do it because they don't want to expose the man because of his position. Not theirs, you know. Because they don't want nobody to know. They don't want society to know. And so they tolerate those things. And that is the foundation of any abuse against secrecy. You need to expose them, man. It's once it's not open, open it out. And then guess what happened? Out of these same abusive relationships, we have violent children. You see, because we learn how to model, dog. We learn how to be a particular way when we go to church, right? Put up a front for 1, 2, 3 hours, I call spiritual, I call lovey-dovey. And we learn how to act when we go to work. But when we go home, the beasts come out. And the children see that. And so the children mind, they're confused.
Okay, so how do you feel we could stop sexual abuse then in our country, whether it be of women or men, and particularly children? How could we stop that, Goshon?
Sexual abuse, that's, boy. Honestly,
sick people around the place in
honestly, working with my father, we never really had to really deal with a lot of sexual abuse because it's more like within the family. Like you said before, sexual abuse, you won't really know about it until years later. People don't really like to talk about when they've been sexually abused or molested or raped or anything like that. You won't find out until years later. The only thing you can do from there on is deal with what already happened. Most of the time it's going on, you don't even know. And most of the times when they tell people, they don't believe them or they don't want to even deal with that.
And then the people who doing it, people don't have the you need some gusto to even confront these people.
Real.
Because these people, boy, listen to me, these people get power, they get money, they get influence. You come against them, man, you will pit of hell work against you. You know, but you can see it in behavior stock. You can see it in certain people's behavior. Those who you've been abused, abuse is a cycle.
Say that again.
Those who have been abused will abuse. It's a cycle.
It's sad, isn't it?
It is sad, dog.
Because one of the issues, you know, if you think our murder rate, the average age of the murder in the Bahamas between 16 and 25. And Dorothy Lewis, I work at Yale, and some more, I work here, that if a kid is abused in early childhood, in later life, he gets involved in violent crime. Mm-hmm. So my hypothesis is that a lot of the kids committing the murder have been sexually abused. And how do we stop that, man?
Boy, that's a hard one.
I mean, I have situations where a mother will have a boyfriend and a young girl in the house, and the young girl told me that the guy was messing with her. The mother tried to stop him, then he would beat up the mother. I mean, it's just a tragic situation, and no neighbors would come to the help.
No.
That's sad.
And you have a lot of those situations, dog, that go on, especially like in the inner city, where there's incest and things happening and money involved and you know, and baby daddy and mommy got a little girl, but she liking this one and open the door for all kind of stuff, and then what happened? This is like a melting pot for crime, and these certain behaviors spring out of that. People hurt.
How do we solve this?
Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing. We run an awesome program at Teen Challenge, and I'm happy to be a consultant now with Urban Renewal. We run programs in the evening. I have one on the Wall Street now. I'm going into Foxhill. And you got the family, doc. If more people can come out and talk about these things, doc, you give people opportunity to vent. And what is so good about venting in a group session is that you can get help from the other persons around you who've been through their problems. So it's people helping people. That's your theme. That's your logo. That is so awesome. If people can just come, if they can be in different communities where parents will come, and then you have a lot of people grieving too, doc. We don't deal with the grief. We bring in people one time. Grief is a process, man. Grief is no one-time thing. You know that.
Goshon, any thoughts about deal with all these issues of childhood sexual abuse and incest and rape?
Well, abuse is abuse no matter how you put it. I think children need to really come out more, seek the help.
But if they don't, the kid is, usually when a child is abused, they're told, if you say anything, I will hurt you. So they're threatened. So that's kind of like a silent hurricane. But what we're seeing in our country with the murder rate as it is, from our work and the work of Dorothy Lewis and others, and the ACE study, the adverse child experiments, that if you have sexual abuse at an early age, between 1 and 5, 1 and 7, you're going to have not only mental health problems, which could be murder or crime, you're also going to have chronic medical problems like diabetes, hypertension, heart trouble. So we now know that trauma in children causes everything in later life.
Wow.
And you see why Jesus said what? Suffer the little children.
Yeah, wow.
So Eric and Goshon, how do we put a ring around our children? Make
Well,
sure
I
they're
think-
safe.
I think we need to target the parents then. We need to target the adults in these situations.
But Eric says the home is blown through because the single parent has gone to work and the little kids are left at home. And it's like
It's sad, man.
a hopeless
It's sad.
situation.
We will
I
always,
mean, just now I saw your eyes. You look sad. What made you sad?
you know, I just don't like the feeling of even thinking, dog, that someone is being taken advantage of.
But they are.
They are, but that's hurt me a lot because, I just...
So as a tough guy as you are, you still have feelings for you. Because now I saw tears come to your eye when I mentioned the childhood abuse.
Dog, I watched over my boys like a hawk, like hawks when they were younger.
You watched over yours.
My kids like hawks when I was when they were younger. Every activity they've been involved in, I've been involved in. I never dropped them off to go to some scout master or what's not. Because trust me, dog, if I found anybody trying to abuse my children, I wouldn't have been here today. I mean that. So I watch them, and like I say,
So what are you telling parents?
I'm telling parents that when you have children, be a parent, man.
Explain.
Don't go leaving. You know these people get problems with this cousin down the road and this next one. You know these people. Do some investigation on these people, man. Just don't try to find some activities to drop your child off because you want to go party and drink rum and do foolishness. Pay attention to your children. Pay attention to young girls. Pay attention to the young boys, man. They are a child. You bring them in the world. Pay attention to them. Once you become a parent, you give up that single life. You can't be single and a parent. Decide what you can do. Make some sacrifices. Your life you live in, yours no more. Once you bring these kids in this world, you're responsible for them. God will hold you accountable for them, man. And so watch out for them. Let them know you care.
So once a person decides to have a child, their independence is gone.
It's gone. Everything should be towards that, man. Come on, even animals do it, man.
We haven't taught that, eh? Because guys feel they can drop kids all over the place and not even be responsible.
And then on Father's Day, they talking about fathers. Listen, let me straighten that up. Not because you have a child, meaning your father. You have a right to be called a father. You probably be a daddy. Father is different from being a daddy, you know. A father means that you're taking care of your responsibilities. Sustainer, provider, protector. That's come by a choice. You did an act, or you sleep with someone and you had sex and this child came forward. Now you have to make another move. That's the move that I'm going to be in this child's life. I know sometimes for single parents and these baby daddy things, some of these women them head lick up and make it difficult for these, these young men to visit their children and all that. I know that, but you have to do, even if you got to go to court, do what you need to do to show that child that you're fighting to be with that child. Don't let a woman bully you or I know some women them they had to lick up. They even want the daddy buy the children no gifts, or the boy buy it because he involved with somebody else. And then they deny him visitation. Why would you want to do something like that for a young man who wants to see his child and take care of his child? Why would you be so stupid?
Yeah. We're going to take a break and be right back.